Hey YouTube, Hello Bella here. I have a book review for you guys. This book is called Built to Sell. It is written by John Warrillow. I don't know, you can look it up. The reason that I read this was because Tim Ferriss mentioned it on his podcast about how he figured out how he could remove himself from his business and kind of automate some things in his business. So this book is a quick read. It's only about 150 pages. It's really thin. I actually read it in a day on the plane because I had a 10-hour plane ride. So I read it and I made some notes in it. So I was just going to look at a few of those things to talk about that. I realized that really the reason that I haven't grown as much as I could have with all of my businesses is that I made myself the bottleneck in my own business. So meaning that I couldn't list as much as I wanted to list. I couldn't source as much as I want to source. There's a lot of administrative things that I needed help with that I should have hired help with. So this year I'm definitely going to be more focused on that. This book tells the story of a guy who's getting ready to sell his business, and he is meeting with a mentor who is walking him through steps. So the guy realizes that he does not have any systems in place. He's just running all over the place. He has a poor staff. The team is not working together. He assigns things and they don't get done correctly, and he winds up having to do it himself. So gradually he fixes all of these things before he looks to sell his business. And the main takeaway from this book is that you have to have systems in place for your business. Whether or not you want to sell it or you just want to remove yourself, you have to give clear instructions on how to run it when you're not there. Because I mean, what if you get sick? What if you want to take 6 months off? Or what if you want to go on vacation? Those are all things that I'm really concerned about in building my future businesses. I don't think that FBA and eBay and merch and Airbnb will be the only businesses that I get into. I can really see myself jumping into some brick and mortar stuff somewhere down the line. I don't know what that opportunity might necessarily be right now, but I do think that eventually I may have some kind of storefront going on. So it's just thoughts for the future. And at the end of the book, he really breaks everything down into these tips that he gives you. Sorry about the delay, guys. I have my phone literally propped up on a plant. I can show you. Let's see. Anyway, super professional thing that we've got going here. As you might have noticed, I'm in my house. I'm back home. So that's been awesome. I got home yesterday. But I read this whole entire book, so I want to go over these tips because at the end of the book, he really summarizes everything, which I think is really valuable because you can go back and read it. So tip number 1 was don't generalize, specialize. If you focus on doing one thing well and hire specialists in that area, the quality of your work will improve and you will stand out among your competitors. So I've always found myself to be a generalist. I know a little bit about a lot of things, but not a lot about anything. And so with this, there's some value and there's pros and cons to being both, but for your business, you really do need to zero in on what you're good at. Number 2, relying too heavily on one client is risky and will turn off potential buyers. Make sure that no one client makes up more than 15% of your revenue. We could turn this into Amazon and say make sure that no one source, no one product makes up more than 15% of your revenue, because that's just a good way to box yourself in, and it'll be really a problem if later on down the road you lose that source. So don't ever let someone or some product take account for too much of your business. Number 3, owning a process makes it easier to pitch and puts you in control. Be clear about what you're selling and potential customers will be more likely to buy your product. So standardize everything. Make sure that everything is kind of cookie cutter, especially if you're giving these instructions to someone to carry out. Like for my Airbnb, I have a list for my cleaner of exactly what to do, and she knows how to do it, so I don't even have to be in the country to run my Airbnb business. Okay, tip number 4, don't become synonymous with your company. If buyers aren't confident that your business can run without you in charge, they won't make their best offer. So basically, you need to be able to remove yourself completely because when you sell a business, they're buying the business. They're not buying you to go along with it. If they were buying you, it would be pointless. You wouldn't even get to leave. So Tip number 5, avoid the cash suck. Once you've standardized your service, charge up front or use progress billing to create a positive cash flow cycle. He's basically just talking about charging up front for your services and don't bill afterwards, because if you charge up front, you get the money to work with while you're still doing the job. So this is really important for cash flow into a business. Number 6 is don't be afraid to say no to projects. So basically, you don't want to agree to things that you're not really good at, you're not a specialist at. You may be a generalist at it, but if you're a generalist, it's going to take you more time and resources to carry out that project than it would be to just say no and take on more of the projects that you're good at. Tip number 7, take some time to figure out how many prospects will likely lead to sales. This is more geared towards the book, and I won't go into that very much because it's not really relevant to Amazon. Tip number 8, I really love this tip, guys. 2 sales reps are always better than 1. Usually naturally competitive types, sales reps will try to outdo each other, and having 2 on the staff will prove to a buyer that you have a scalable sales model. So I never thought about this, but it makes total sense. Having 2 employees, 2 sales reps, 2 of anything, it naturally makes people competitive. Think about people who go to the gym with a workout partner. You're going to try harder. Tip number 9, hire people who are good at selling products, not services. These people will be able to figure out how your product can meet a client's needs rather than agreeing to customize your offering to fit what the client wants. So this is more about selling a client-based business. Like, for example, a consulting firm would have a standardized set of rules that they follow when meeting with a client. Maybe they have a 3 or 4 step process and they use the same steps each time. So tip number 10, ignore your profit and loss statement in the year that you make the switch to a standardized offering. Again, this is really more relevant to the book, and if you read this book, you really actually should read it. These tips make a lot of sense, and I feel like I had a good head for business, and then I read this book and I was like, I don't know anything about this stuff. Like, I was completely oblivious to most of it. And I actually looked into selling my Merch by Amazon business last month, just kind of for fun and seeing what it was worth and stuff. And it was very interesting to see how things are valued and how that, you have to have a proven track record, and you have to, oh, the mail people are here. Woo, mail. It is like late for the mail. It's like 5:30. Anyways, yeah, you have to have a proven track record for your business. So number 11, you need at least 2 years of financial statements reflecting your use of the standardized offering model. Basically, 2 years is the given amount of time that you want to be able to prove something is working before you try to sell it. Number 12, build a management team and offer them a long-term incentive plan that rewards their personal performance and loyalty. I really like the fact that this guy, he made up like incentive plans for his employees. Like, if you stay with me a year, you get this, 2 years this, 3 years that. And it really motivates employees to remain loyal and stay on your team. Tip number 3, find an advisor for whom you will be neither their largest nor their smallest client. Make sure they know your industry. So this just goes to finding a advisor to help you sell when you're ready to sell. A lot of this other tips is really about selling the business. But anyways, this book, guys, is really worth reading if you are a business owner, a small business owner. You don't have to have a big business, but you are thinking about removing yourself at some point. My biggest goal is to get rid of me, because I don't want to have to be the one who's always going sourcing, going shipping things, pulling eBay inventory out of the closet and shipping it to the customer, listing things on Amazon, finding products. Eventually, I want to be able to remove myself from that as much as possible. And I am a workaholic. I know that about myself, but at the same time, you have to enjoy your life. And I kind of have this all or nothing mentality right now, and I really need to get out of that because it seems like I'm either, really into running the business, or I have to completely be away from it, like physically away from it. If you have noticed on my channel, I leave a lot. I go to different states and even to different countries to kind of get a break from things. So that's just personal, that's just for me. But this book was recommended by Tim Ferriss. I think it was actually on his podcast that he brought it up, but it is a short book. I believe it's like $12 Amazon Prime free shipping, so I think it's worth that. It's a quick read, but I'm going to stick it on my shelf and remember it, and you know, if I have a friend or something who needs to hear this information, I'll probably pass this book along. But hopefully you enjoyed my little review here. I know it was kind of sporadic, but I really think that it has some good information to cover. The author's point of view is really in a teaching format, and he breaks it down for you so easily by telling a story, so I would definitely recommend this book. But I am gonna get to dealing with all my FBA inventory that's laying in my room here, and it's been a busy day. I got a new phone, or I got new phone service, and I got my gym membership turned back on. As you may notice, I'm pretty fat, so I'm working on that, and I'm working on reading 20 minutes a day, meditating 5 minutes a day, going to the gym pretty much every day, and trying to run a business. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's super great to be back, and I will come at you with some content. It's 2018, it's a brand new year, so if you think of anything you want to hear from me about, or you have any topics or books or things that might be relevant to this channel, go ahead and leave it in the comments section, and I will try to cover it at some point. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope that you have a great month of January. Take care.